All right, so what we're doing with this lesson is we're writing linear equations. There's three types of problems. I could give you a graph. I could give you a point and slope. Or the third thing I could give you is 2 points. And if any of those scenarios happen, you should be able to write a linear equation from it. So the first type we're going to do is we're going to do the ones where I give you a graph. Okay, and when I give you a graph, what you do is you start off by just finding your M and your B. So my B for this one is 1. And then I go down 1. So that's a -1 since I went down. And I go over 1, 2. Now you notice that this is shaded. So that means it's an inequality. It is shaded above, so it's going to be greater than. The next thing I should notice is I should notice that this is a solid line, so it equals that. And now I just write my equation because I have my M and my B. So y is greater than or equal to -1/2 x plus 1. All right, over on the right, again, I find my M and my B. I find my B first by finding the y-intercept. And now I need to find out where it crosses exactly. There's a lot of extra marks on this graph, but it crosses exactly at a coordinate here. So for this one, I go up 1, 2, and then I go over 1. So it's 2 over 1. There's no shading, so it's just an equal sign. So y equals 2x plus 3. All right, the next type of problem we're going to have is when I give you a point and a slope. And so with a point and a slope, what happens is I can plug in some things. I can plug in the y1, I can plug in the m, and I can plug in the x1. After that, I just simplify. So the hardest thing is knowing what to plug in and where to plug it in. So let's do a couple examples. This 5 is an x, and it's the first x I see, so it's x1. This -2 is a y, so it's y1. So I'm going to plug it into this formula right here. And again, the things that I've underlined are the things that I can plug in. So it'll be y minus my y1, which is -2, equals my m, which is 3, and x minus my x1, which is 5. That tends to be the hardest step, getting it to plug in. From here, it's just a little distributing and combining or moving things around. So I get y plus 2 equals, I'm going to distribute here. So I get 3x minus 15. And to get rid of a plus 2, I minus 2. And so I get 3x minus 17. Same thing here, x1, y1, and I'm probably going to switch colors just so that I have space and you can see. So it'll be y minus my y1, which is 1, equals my m, -1/2, x minus x1, -4. So 2 negatives become a positive. So I bring down my y minus 1, and I get, when I distribute, I get -1/2 x minus 2, because half of 4 is 2. And then I add 1 to both sides, and I get y is equal to -1/2 x minus 1. All right, last problem, same idea. You should try it yourself, and when you think you have it, press play to see how you did. And so you should have done x1, y1. So y minus -4 equals -3 x minus 6. 2 negatives become a plus. So -3x plus 18, because a -3 times a -6 gives me a plus 18. And I'm -4 on both sides. So these first type of problems, when you're given a point and slope, the hardest step is usually the first step, plugging it in. After that, it's just a distributing and moving one number, and then you're done. All right, let's look at our next type of problem. The next type of problem is when I give you 2 points. And this one's a little harder because there's an extra step. The first step you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find the slope. So this is the first step you do. You find your slope. After that, then you do this. You plug it in here, and then you simplify. Okay. When you go to the second step and you're picking one of the points to use, it doesn't matter which point you use, you'll get the same results. So let's scoot on here. And so I'm going to find my slope up above. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. And so I'm using my first formula, my slope formula. So it'll be 9 minus 3 over negative 4 minus negative 2. So I get 6 over negative 2. So my slope for the first problem is negative 3. Now what you do again is you pick one of the points. I'm going to pick the one that I've already labeled, x1, y1, so I have it there. And now I can go ahead and plug it in. And so I'm using my second formula, this one here. And so it'll be y minus my y1, which is 3, equals my slope, negative 3, x minus x1, which is negative 2. One of those, there we go. And so now I'm going to distribute. And remember, two negatives do become a positive. So I get negative 3x. And then negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6. And so now I add 3 to both sides. And I get negative 3x minus 3. Same thing here. You start off by finding your slope. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So it's going to be y2 minus y1, so 5 minus 7. And then x2 minus x1. Make sure you write all the negatives. A common thing people will do is they'll write minus, and then they'll forget that that x was a negative 3. And so I have negative 2 over negative 3, which becomes 2 over 3. So my m for this one is 2 over 3. Okay, so now we're going to plug it in. And so when I plug it in again, I'm looking at this formula right here. I plug in the y1, the m, and the x1. And so I'm going to just use this one because it already says x1 and y1. So it'll be y, let me move this up some, y minus y1, which is 7, equals my m, 2/3, x minus x1, which is negative 3. So remember, two negatives become a positive. So I get y minus 7 equals 2/3 x. Now for this one, I'm going to do a little work on the side so you can see. Some people understand these okay. But when I do this, remember 3 is just 3 over 1. And so it's 2 times 3, which is 6, over 3 times 1, which is 3. And 6 divided by 3 is just 2. And so when you get fractions, I want you to feel confident and just know that it's the top times the top divided by anything that's on the bottom. So 2 times 3 is 6, divided by that bottom number is 3. Okay. And so now I just need to solve this. To get rid of a minus 7, I add 7. And so I get y is equal to 2/3 x plus 9. So depending on what you're given, you have different equations. The big thing you have to do is label stuff. Even when I did those first ones with finding the equation from a graph, I labeled my m and I labeled my b and then I plugged it in.